Today on Studio One, take out the rust, hammer out the dents, and play the night away. We'll spend a day in the life of someone who repairs tired instruments. Also, it's often a musician's dream to sign with a major record label. We'll tell you about one band that enjoys independence. And the war in Iraq has changed the lives of many soldiers and their families. One young man's wartime experience has transformed him inside and out.
From the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, this is Studio One.
Hello and welcome to Studio One. I'm Monty Cashel.
And I'm Carrie Versdahl. Well, Christmas is just around the corner.
Yeah, the holiday season is here.
With the gift-giving season. And one gift that seems to become increasingly popular is giving pets.
Yeah, that's kind of a dangerous one because you never know if people will like the pet.
Right, and you often see, you know, those little fish with the plants in them. And
yeah, betta fish.
Right, and you might not know how to take care of them. So actually, coming up on the show, we're going to have someone to tell us all about fish and fish care and what fish is maybe right for you.
So you know what to do if you get one of those fish as a gift. Excellent. Also coming up on the show, many people leave tips for those working in the service industry. We'll talk to some people who rely on tips for a full paycheck.
Also, many teens can feel overwhelmed by the pressures of high school. We will talk to someone about some options these students may have.
But first, here's today's news with Phil Zubrod.
Thanks, Monty and Carrie. President Bush says January 30th election in Iraq will go ahead as scheduled. He says once the interim parliament is elected, it will draft a new constitution which will help stabilize Iraq. He made the comments as he appeared before reporters with the president of Nigeria at the White House. Bush is sending 1,500 additional troops to Iraq to help with security as the election approaches. The fresh troops will be in Iraq in a few weeks. 10,000 other troops will have extended stays in order to help secure the election. But there are signs security continues to be a challenge in Iraq. Early Thursday morning, 5 rounds of mortar were fired near Baghdad. 1 person was killed while 12 others were injured. Insurgents also killed 2 local officials as they were driving north of Baghdad. A new drug is on its way that is designed to help recovering alcoholics. Camprol has been approved by the FDA and is supposed to provide alcoholics with the ability to say no to drinking. Addiction specialists say the drug helps limit a person's cravings for alcohol. However, they emphasize that it does not cure alcoholism. They say the drug has worked well compared to other means of fighting the addiction, but they say that the drug by itself is not the solution to a serious drinking problem.
It doesn't cure anything. The person still has the disease of chemical dependency. So they need to go through treatment and learn how to have a recovery program.
Camprol is already being used in Europe. It is expected to be available in the U.S. by the end of the year. Many patients waiting for a heart transplant may now be able to extend their lives long enough to get the organs they need. The FDA has approved the first temporary artificial heart for patients who are at risk of dying within 30 days. The CardioWest Total Artificial Heart can completely replace a failing heart for nearly 3 months. The device is powered by a tiny motor that monitors its function. But the FDA warns infection, bleeding, and stroke are possible with the transplant. The artificial heart costs about $100,000. Many soldiers serving in Iraq look forward to reuniting with their families back home. However, adjusting from war to civilian life may not be easy for everybody. One veteran has had to make some unforeseen adjustments. Ask this soldier and he'll tell you he's not a hero.
There are a lot better guys than me that deserve that term than I do.
Although many soldiers are still fighting in Iraq, some veterans like Brandon Erickson have returned to their lives back home. For Brandon, that means finishing college at the University of North Dakota. But going to class is nothing like war, where life can change in an instant in the Iraqi desert, like it did for Brandon on July 22, 2003. Insurgents ambushed his convoy 10 miles north of Fallujah.
Never even saw it coming. It just hit us out of nowhere. So I got hit with an RPG in the side, and my driver was killed in the crossfire. I remember pulling the trigger to fire back, and all I had left was the trigger and the pistol grip and the butt of the gun. Everything else was gone. Instinct hits you, and your training kicks in. It's like, you know, get out of here, crawl over, you know, open the doors.
But no training could save Brandon from losing his right arm in the attack that fateful day. He then began months of grueling therapy.
It was a lot of tedious work, you know. It was sitting with this therapist, writing writing my ABCs all day long, learning how to write left-handed. And that's what it really drags the guy down after a while.
Although Brandon is away from the war, he says he battles his emotions every day.
Some days I feel lucky that I'm alive and that it's happened for a reason. Other days I'm mad. I miss the Army. I wish I could still be in. Then other days I try to understand why I survived and why the other guy didn't.
He says living through the attack has made him stronger.
It's made me a lot more dedicated person as far as changing my my mental state. You can look at my grades before I left and my grades after I left. I'm two complete opposites.
Even though he lost something important, Brandon has gained a new perspective and mission in life. According to official Department of Defense statistics, more than 9,000 troops have been wounded in the war in Iraq. And that's the news for now. Monty and Carrie?
Thanks, Phil. Well, we've finally seen signs of snow here.
Yes.
We have winter here finally.
Yes, it has snowed a little bit around here. It's okay, I'll take it. It's not too much snow.
Yeah, we're getting into December, so we should have some white stuff.
Right, so why don't we go to Aaron Swanson over at the Regional Weather Information Center and he can tell us more about the weather.
Thanks, Monty and Carrie. Well, it is December, like you said, and obviously we should have something on the ground at least. So to prove it is, at least, but let's take a look at our almanac conditions here. Let's take a look into pretty much most parts of North Dakota. You're seeing those temperatures right around average as it is. Your average is 24 in Minot, and that's about what you've been seeing over the last few days. And same with those overnight lows, right around 7 degrees for much of North Dakota. As we head on into Denver, Portland, Minneapolis, and Winnipeg, you all too as well are seeing pretty average conditions. Denver, the only exception, has seen a little bit cooler, but you're expected to be seeing average conditions throughout the next week here, though. We have something to talk about here again. Of course, we have our nor'easters that are typical this time of year. They're very common in December, and they can extend all the way in through March. And a typical nor'easter, how it sets up, is you have a cold jet stream or your polar jet, and then you have a warm jet stream or your tropical jet, and they'll converge typically over the Atlantic area. And off of Georgia or in Florida and off into the Atlantic, you'll have a low that typically will develop when you have this kind of setup. And what happens is this thing will start to ride up the east coast of the United States. And you'll get a warm sector, which will have some nice warm air, but that'll be where a lot of your rain and stuff is. And then you have a cold sector off to the western part, and that'll be where you get some of your snowfall or your colder conditions behind it. As we put it into motion there, we can see right around Cape Hatteras or in North Carolina, that's typically where you see the most intensifying part. And as it heads on up in through New Jersey into New York, and then by that point it has reached its maximum intensity, and with that you get a lot of wrapping around with low pressure, and as that cold air filters in, it switches from rain to snow and to freezing rain. It's just a whole big mess, so that's why nor'easters are so dangerous across much of the northeast for you. But it looks like we don't have any snow or anything to worry about. We can see some warmer conditions off to the northeast, and also into the west we'll be seeing some colder conditions, but the Midwest you'll be pretty much right around normal. As we head on to where you're going to be wet or dry, we're going to see some wet conditions off to the west and into the southwest, and dry up in through the middle part into the Rocky region of the United States. Well, here's a look at your Studio One Weather IQ question. Which U.S. city receives the greatest snowfall each year? And we have Caribou, Maine, Flagstaff, Arizona, Marquette, Michigan, and Valdez, Alaska to choose from. So Monty and Carrie will have to answer that question and also look at winter driving coming up in the second half of our show.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, winter driving, that is something I have to get used to again.
Yeah, as soon as that white stuff hits the roads, it gets pretty slippery no matter where you live.
Yep.
Well, let's go now to sports with Greg Ankers.
Thanks, Monty and Carrie. It may be early in the NCAA men's basketball season, but Wednesday night delivered a reason to get excited. With its first ever #1 ranking, Wake Forest headed to Champaign to take on the #3 ranked Illinois Fighting Illini. We'll pick it up in the first. Illinois up 7 when Chris Paul of Wake Forest spins in the lane and gets the jumper to go, cutting the lead to 5. But then here come the Illini on the break later in the first. Deep Brown gets the pass inside. He'll get the hoop and the foul there. And then this one would get out of control. Illinois up 30 in the second half. The backdoor cut by Deron Williams adds to that lead as Illinois upsets #1 Wake Forest 91-73. More ACC Big Ten action, #11 North Carolina, Indiana. Towards the end of the first half, it's Raymond Felton spotting up the 3. UNC would be up 6 at the break there. Second half, Indiana trying to make a game of it. Bracy Wright with the backdoor slam, cutting the UNC lead down to 4, but down the stretch, too much Tar Heels as they go inside here to Sean May. With a man on his back, he will not be stopped. Indiana goes up 48-38 at that point as Sean May's father looks in from the stands. He's a proud papa as UNC goes on to win 70-63. Scholarships are the backbone of college football. The opportunity for a free education is key in a school's ability to put together a successful team.
But a new NCAA proposal threatens to limit the number of scholarships that some schools hand out. Division II football teams are allowed to give 36 scholarships to their players. That number could be reduced to 24 this January at the NCAA convention, where new rules will be voted on. Many colleges with small programs hope to level the playing field, but more competitive teams are worried that the proposal will bring down every team.
I think it might prompt some to just not like the direction of Division II football and maybe therefore Division II athletics in general.
Division II could have a very different look if the regulation passes, as top-end teams will look to move up to Division I, and some Division III schools will move up to Division II. And now it's time for the Studio One Sports Trivia question, scholarship related. How many football scholarships are NCAA Division 1A teams allowed? There's answers there ranging from 60 all the way up to 85. And we'll tell you how much those institutions can offer when we have more sports later on. Monty and Carrie?
Thanks, Greg. John Grisham has written many best-selling crime and mystery novels. The most recent movie based on his book is a family tale about Christmas. We'll take a look at Christmas with the Cranks.
Also, students sometimes feel forced to graduate from high school. Our next guest will tell us about some students who not only want to attend, but are overcoming obstacles to graduate.
Need to plan an entire conference? Want to provide your employees with professional training and development? The Division of Continuing Education at the University of North Dakota provides quality programs and services for career enhancement. Whether you want to attend educator workshops or need a certificate for your profession, the Division of Continuing Education can help you achieve success. Contact the Division of Continuing Education today and let us meet your professional needs.
When you graduate from college, what will you be able to offer an employer?
Well, I'm a really good people person.
I really love working with people.
I'm very, very motivated.
I'm a great people person. I am really motivated.
Offer an employer something more. At the University of North Dakota Career Services Center, we can help you get the competitive edge you need. Stop in or check us out, UND Career Services, empowering students to realize their dreams.
Did I mention I'm great with people?
The University of North Dakota College of Business and Public Administration offers real degrees for real people. Our nationally recognized faculty can help you earn a master's degree in business through evening classes.
Taking these evening classes were very convenient for me, and that's how I was able to complete the program.
We offer degrees for people who work, raise families, and lead busy lives. The UND College of Business and Public Administration, real degrees for real people.
Become a leader in healthcare with a graduate degree from the University of North Dakota. The Graduate School at UND offers degree programs and advanced practice certificate programs in the allied health professions and nursing. Our faculty give you the individual attention you need to help you attain your career goals. Distance programs for practicing professionals allow you to pursue graduate studies without interrupting your career. Contact the UND Graduate School today.
The School of Engineering and Mines at UND has a long history of preparing students for successful careers. Through small classes and faculty involvement, students have unique opportunities to gain hands-on experience. Here, students launch a weather balloon to test a remote imaging device destined for Earth orbit. Students can also become involved in wind energy and fuel cell projects, design, build, and race a Formula One car, or even develop a camera that will generate agricultural images from the International Space Station. Find out for yourself how you can get involved at UND School of Engineering and Mines.
You're watching Studio One, twice named the best college television show in the nation by the National Association of College Broadcasters.
A high school diploma has almost become a necessary requirement in order to be successful later in life. However, some students are left to overcome obstacles that make learning in a traditional class setting difficult. Community high school teacher Eileen Zygarlicke is here to talk to us more about the benefits of an alternative high school. Thanks for coming on the show today.
Sure.
Well, tell us, what is an alternative high school?
Well, I guess an alternative high school deals mainly with at-risk students. And these are students who, for a variety of reasons, don't learn as well in a traditional classroom setting. Maybe they've had substance abuse problems in the past. Maybe they come from dysfunctional families. Maybe they've been diagnosed with ADD or OCD or some type of behavioral problem, and so it makes them at a higher risk to not function as well in a traditional classroom setting.
How are the class schedules different in a non-traditional school or an alternative high school?
Well, at community, and there's a variety of different alternative schools. Grand Forks doesn't have the only one in the state, but at our school anyway, we have a block system. And so our schools run one class in the morning for 3 hours, one class in the afternoon for 3 hours. The minimum age that you can attend our school is 16. So that makes it past the mandatory education age. That means that students who are supporting themselves full-time, living on their own, can still work full-time, go to school part-time. So those are some things that we take into consideration because we do have a diversity of student population.
Yeah, and you mentioned that some of these people might be on their own already and working jobs. How is that for attending classes? Is attendance taken? Is it something where they have to be there at every class?
Right. We give them the option of what they want to do. Like I said, they don't have to come to school in the morning. They don't have to come to school in the afternoon. They choose if they want to attend school full-time or not. Once they are enrolled in a class, then they get up to 10 hours to use per class during the time, and that's their time. Whether they've got a doctor's appointment, they have a funeral, maybe they had to work late and they need to sleep in. They sign in, they sign out, and they have 10 hours of class time to use.
Does it take the normal time to graduate, or are things drawn out a little bit longer in this type of a setting?
No, actually, they can achieve, if a student really sets his mind to it or her mind to it, a student can achieve 7 to 8 credits during a school year, which is about maybe one ahead of Central or Red River. We get the same type of diploma that anybody else gets, the same type of diploma. It's just as valid as Central's or Red River's. So that's kind of a fallacy or misnomer that a lot of people in the community might have about our school.
Okay, and you're mentioning Central and Red River. Those are local high schools that you're comparing those to. What is your typical class size like? Give us a picture of what it would be like in the classroom.
Well, because we're a non-traditional school, we focus mainly on establishing a small school atmosphere, so we limit our class size to 15. One of the reasons that we limit our class size to 15 is because I'm an English teacher, so that means I teach freshman, sophomore, junior, senior English, plus creative writing and any of the other classes that Central or Red River offer. We offer the same classes in our school. That doesn't mean that we have everyone at the same point at every time. We start students every single week. We're starting new kids in our classroom. So even though we may only have 90 students in our class or in our school in 1 week, we probably service 220 to 250 students throughout the entire year.
How hard is it for a student to get into this community high school?
Well, they have to do an intake, and they have to come and meet with the principal, fill out an application. We don't just take anybody. There's also a test that they have to take. We do a pre-test just to kind of evaluate where students are at academically. And then we also have a waiting list. So I think currently our waiting list is about 60 to 65 students.
Okay, so it's obviously people are wanting to get in.
Right.
How is this school funded?
This school has the same type of funding as Central or Red River. Again, we rely on property tax, state funding, and federal funding.
Okay. What type of diploma do the students get after they graduate? This is, you're talking about a different kind of a high school setting. Is it the same?
Yeah, actually, as I said earlier, it's the exact same type of a diploma, and it's just as valid as Central's or Red River. So there's really no differentiating between the three schools.
Okay. How common are these programs in other communities?
Well, there are some throughout the state. Fargo has one, West Fargo. Jamestown has a pretty small program that's in the process of building. Bismarck, Dickinson is in the process of building a program, and Minot.
Okay, so it's widespread across the state then. Graduation comes along, and if these people are taking classes at different times and things, how is graduation different?
Well, actually, we make a huge deal out of graduation because these are students who didn't succeed in the traditional classroom setting, so they're making the effort, and they're trying, and they really are devoted to getting an education. And so we have students graduate during the week. Like we're going to, probably in a couple weeks, we'll have another graduate go, and so we have them walk down the hall, everyone claps and applauds, and we make it a big celebration. But we also have a graduation date, just like Central and Red River, in May. And I believe that it's usually the last couple of days, around the last day of school. And it's at the Alaris. Last year we had about 700 or 800 people attend our graduation.
Right. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show and
Thank
sharing
you.
this information with us. Coming up, after the popularity of Disney's movie Finding Nemo, many people wanted to have a fish of their own. Later we'll talk to someone who will tell us more about fish and tanks. Also, when something valuable breaks, we are grateful to people who can fix those prized possessions. Coming up, we'll take a look at someone whose repairs are music to others' ears.
Earn a degree in engineering while you continue to work. The University of North Dakota's Distance Engineering degree program offers the only ABET accredited undergraduate degree program at a distance. Instructors and classes are delivered to you through online lectures and condensed on-campus laboratories.
It's convenient, it's flexible, and it's a quality education.
UND Continuing Education and the School of Engineering and Mines, teaming up to bring quality education to your door.
Need to plan an entire conference? Want to provide your employees with professional training and development? The Division of Continuing Education at the University of North Dakota provides quality programs and services for career enhancement. Whether you want to attend educator workshops or need a certificate for your profession, the Division of Continuing Education can help you achieve success. Contact the Division of Continuing Education today and let us meet your professional needs.
The holiday season may be less than merry in the new film Christmas with the Cranks. The movie is based on John Grisham's best-selling novel Skipping Christmas. Tim Allen plays a man who skips the hustle and bustle of Christmas. He and his wife, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, decide instead to go on vacation. The neighbors are shocked the Cranks would go away during the Christmas season. At the last minute, the Cranks' daughter decides to come home for the holidays. The family is then forced to put Christmas back together.
So he decides to take proactive stance and not celebrate Christmas, kind of as an acting out mechanism.
Christmas with the Cranks is set in the Chicago suburb of Riverside. The production designer went as far as Minnesota to find a place with the appropriate weather conditions and the right suburban atmosphere. Now it's time to take a look at the events happening in your area. Hammers, screwdrivers, and files are used for repairing just about anything. Today we'll spend a day in the life of someone who uses them to patch up melodies.
Woodwinds, brass, and percussion each sing their own tune. Sometimes instruments squeak out a bad sound, and something may be wrong. Deb Roach is paid to know the difference. She's a musician who fixes broken notes.
It's an interesting combination of talents. You have to be able to play the instruments. You have to have a physical sense of, if I push this down, this goes up. Plus then there's an artistic part of it too.
Deb's artistic eye is keen. Appearances are very important.
It's looking pretty good.
Cutting corks, polishing brass, and fixing dents are only a few elements in instrument repair. Deb also guarantees every musical note will sound good.
And I'm doing everything I can, but the flute just isn't working.
Whether it's a brass or woodwind, Deb has to know how to play them all.
The customer doesn't really like that clicking sound.
One key out of whack may cause many bad notes. However, replacing it will provide even better sounds. Deb has customers from beginners to pros and loves to see their reactions to her work.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And the customer comes to get it and you open the case and they go, oh, wow. You know, that's a good feeling.
The next time a squeaky note is heard or a beat-up horn is spotted, it may need a visit to someone like Deb. She's got the skills to give instruments their second wind. I am Jenna Lund reporting for Studio One.
Deb has been playing the clarinet for many years as her main instrument. She got the skills for tools from growing up on a farm where there was always something to fix. Many music groups signed to major record labels can generate a large following. Coming up in our Studio One Spotlight, we'll tell you how independent bands are finding their own place in the music world. That story plus news, sports, and the weather in the next half hour of Studio One.
George Bull and his partners found value in farina, the whitest part of wheat, and created cream of wheat. Patrick Haggerty founded Texas Instruments and helped it become one of the nation's high-tech giants. Raymond Rood is responsible for the modern diving board. His diving boards have been used in every Olympic competition since 1960. Chris Moen and Marlene Schott launched their food company through the UND Entrepreneurship Program. Will yours be next?
The University of North Dakota Alumni Association and Foundation, together with thousands of alumni and friends, are making a difference at UND. Thanks to generous private support, many students have experienced the rich history, tradition, and spirit of the University of North Dakota. UND alumni and friends understand the importance of education and are proud to be part of UND's growth and success. Learn how your gift to the UND Foundation can benefit you and your university. You can make a difference.
Earn a degree in engineering while you continue to work. The University of North Dakota's Distance Engineering degree program offers the only ABET accredited undergraduate degree program at a distance. Instructors and classes are delivered to you through online lectures and condensed on-campus laboratories.
It's convenient, it's flexible, and it's a quality education.
UND Continuing Education and the School of Engineering and Mines, teaming up to bring quality education to your door.
Tradition runs deep among American Indian people. One of those traditions is helping others. At the University of North Dakota, American Indian Student Services is dedicated to helping students succeed. Our support services include tutoring and financial aid assistance. We have more American Indian programs than any other university in the U.S., making UND a leader in Indian education. Be a part of our tradition. Call 1-800-CALL-UND.
From the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, this is Studio One.
Welcome back to Studio One.
Thanks for joining us today. We have a lot of interesting topics coming up for you. One of them is dealing with the death penalty. And the government actually recently reported that death sentences have dropped to a 30-year low.
Wow, that's 30 years.
Yeah, and so we actually went out and we asked people, ordinary people, what they thought the reason was that the death sentences were dropping.
Well, that should be interesting.
Yeah, that's coming up. Also in the next 30 minutes on Studio One, it can be devastating to a family when a teen commits suicide. We'll tell you how one mother's love and strength has become an inspiration to others.
Also, making it big in music often means selling millions of records. In our Spotlight story, we'll tell you about one band who measures its success in other ways.
And the options can be overwhelming when choosing to buy a fish and a tank. We'll talk to someone who can help you with picking out just the right aquarium combination. But first, here's today's news with Phil Zubrod.
Thanks, Monty and Carrie. Authorities in Wichita, Kansas are investigating a possible new lead into the BTK serial killer case. Police are testing the DNA of a man arrested early Thursday morning on an outstanding trespassing warrant. Authorities say the man's name was included among the thousands of tips they have received from the public. Detectives also took other evidence from the man's home. The BTK killer is linked to 8 unsolved homicides from the 1970s and 80s. BTK is an acronym for bind, torture, and kill. The serial killer broke years of silence earlier this year by sending letters to the police and media. President Bush added another member to his second-term cabinet Thursday. Bush picked the governor of Nebraska, Mike Johanns, to be the next Secretary of Agriculture. Johanns is replacing outgoing Secretary Ann Vedeman. So far, 7 members of the president's cabinet have decided to step down. Every year during the holidays, the Salvation Army rings bells to help out the less fortunate. But this year, there will be no bells ringing at what used to be a prime location for donations. Target is now banning bell ringers in front of its stores. Minneapolis-based Target says it can no longer make an exception to its no solicitation policy. But the Salvation Army says it's getting mixed messages from other stores as well.
We will let you ring, but you can only ring X number of days. And so they're starting to squeeze us down into what they're doing.
The Salvation Army raised $93 million from all its red kettles last year. 10% of that came from Target stores. Fuqua says the challenge this year will be to find new locations like Target that provide generous donations. Airlines now have a new option for defense against terrorist attacks. The Transportation Security Administration has authorized Korean Air to become the first airline to carry stun guns on board. The TSA says the stun guns, or tasers, are the only safe, non-lethal weapon that can be used on an airplane. The tasers deliver an electric shock that briefly stuns an attacker. Transportation officials say fewer airlines may use them since many are adopting other safety measures. But many pilots and flight attendants support the use of the weapon. When a tragedy happens, people react in many different ways. Some people choose to move past it and try to forget, while others try to turn their loss into something positive.
On August 3, 2003, the Bollinger family received devastating news that would change their lives forever.
Michael's always there with us no matter what. He's just not physically here. He'll always be a big, huge part of our family.
Sandy's 18-year-old son, Michael, committed suicide that evening at their home in Grand Forks, North Dakota, while the rest of the family was at the lake cabin. The grieving process immediately began with questions. What went wrong, and why did this happen?
It's just not the same without him here. And it's an emptiness that you can't explain. You know, it's so deep that I don't think there's even any words to describe it.
There are hundreds of things that Sandy misses about Michael.
22 was his hockey number, and if that shows up, sometimes it's kind of gut-wrenching, knowing that we'll never see that number on the ice again with him in that jersey.
As the first Christmas without Michael approached, Sandy faced another difficult question.
Like when I sent out Christmas cards last year, it was hard. Do I write Michael's name? Do I not? And so I started putting just a teardrop.
This teardrop gave Sandy an idea to turn her tragedy into something beneficial for others.
From that day on, the word suicide has become a word that's part of our everyday life.
She now works with Michael's high school counselor in giving a presentation called Tears.
The Tears group has been great. It's been kind of an outlet for me.
Tears is an acronym for Together We Educate About the Realities of Suicide and deals with prevention and what to do if a teen commits suicide.
The Tears thing will get some education out there and help other people that are in need.
As Sandy spreads her message throughout the community about a mother's love for her son, she turns her tears into something positive for others. With photographer Darren Leon, I'm Mariah Torning reporting for Studio One.
According to the American Association for Suicidology, suicide is the third leading cause of death for people ages 15 to 24. And that's the news for now. Monty and Carrie?
Thanks, Phil. Well, with this first snowfall that we recently received, driving can be an issue, and I know that across the country, when that first snowfall hits, people are hitting the ditch all over the place.
You got to kind of reteach yourself how to slow down in time
right.
and everything else. Well, Aaron Swanson over at the Regional Weather Information Center actually promised us some video on that.
Well, thanks, Monty and Carrie. Yeah, it is kind of a hard time of the year. We have to transition from summer driving, where you can accelerate really quick if you need to, and now we have to worry about something else. But parts of Nebraska and the upper Midwest have actually seen some snowfall as well. In through North Platte, they saw about 9.9 inches of snow, which was actually a record on that day. But otherwise, elsewhere around Nebraska, there was some treacherous driving, and there was one death caused by an accident, actually because of the snow. Just some slippery roads and people not taking it as cautious because it is that first snow. We also saw some accidents in Michigan as well. This was a multi-car pileup in Michigan, just north of Michigan, on a major freeway. They actually had to close it down and traffic was just backed up for miles and miles. As you can see, the video seems like it's endless of the lineup of cars. So, but this is the storm that went through North Platte. They were pretty much the bullseye of the storm, it looks like. So you have 5 to 10 inches of snow that fell within that area, and then the outskirts saw about 1 to 5 inches of snow as well. Well, the first snowfall of winter can often lead to slippery roads. Whether or not the snow decides to stick around can depend on what is located beneath the snow.
The upper Midwest is starting to show the whiter signs of winter. Frost is found on cars, ice is discovered on rivers, and the first snowflakes of winter fall to the ground. While people transition into winter driving, it is important to know what they're driving on.
Concrete is lighter than like asphalt. So you're talking if the sun's out, you're going to be melting a lot more on a black pavement than you will be on concrete.
Basically, the colder the surface, the more likely snow will stay and the more slippery it'll be. Albedo can play an important role with the road conditions. Albedo is the measure of light reflected off surfaces.
Albedo definitely plays a big role in like keeping streets clear.
Darker surfaces will get the least amount of snow. As temperatures change, remember that road materials will change just as often under your tires. This in turn will affect your traction. I'm John Nowoski reporting for Studio One.
The higher the albedo of a surface, the more reflective it is. For example, blacktop would have a very low albedo, while snow-covered ground has a very high albedo. Well, here's a look again at your Studio One weather IQ question. Which U.S. city received the greatest snowfall each year? And your answer is D, Valdez, Alaska, with 326 inches annually. As we take a look at all the other cities, actually Marquette is up there with 141 inches, 111 in Caribou, and in Flagstaff, right around 100 inches even. So Monty and Carey, the reason I guess Valdez gets it is they're kind of stuck between the mountains and the coast, and they just get that onshore flow, and really, you pretty much just gets a lot of precipitation in the area.
All right, thanks, Aaron. I guess that would make sense. A lot of
Yeah, and I can't imagine
altitude.
300 inches of snow every year. That's a lot.
I don't even want to imagine
A lot of
it.
snow blowing going on up there in Alaska. Well, it's time now to go to sports again with Greg Ankers.
Thanks, Monty and Carey. Football is a rare sport that allows you to play with various numbers of players. And high school football is one level that offers a league for just about any school, no matter the size.
At first glance, this may look like your average game of high school football, but there's something unique here. This is the North Dakota State 9-man championship football game, and while the rules and game plans are similar to 11-man football, there are some differences that make this game special.
The biggest difference is you're playing with 4 less people on the field, so you got a lot more field to defend in 9-man than you do in 11, especially on defensive. It's more of an out, wide open game. It's not so much a power game like 11-man football is.
Not only does this brand of football make for more open spaces, but due to smaller enrollments and even fewer students trying out for athletic teams, these players get to experience a lot of football.
Your smaller 9-man or most 9-man schools, players, they play all the special teams. They play both offense and defense, so they got to really be in good shape.
With many of their players taking advantage of more playing time, it can be a challenge for coaches to prepare their athletes for a particular position.
They don't get, the specialized coaching like you do in a big 11-man program because they got to know every position.
That extra effort put in by both coaches and players makes 9-man football a game that clearly has a style all its own and keeps its fans cheering for more.
Many states offer some type of variation to the traditional 11-man football. Some states feature 8-man leagues, while others like Montana and Nebraska even have 6-man football. And now the answer to this week's Studio One sports trivia question: how many football scholarships are NCAA Division 1A teams allowed? The answer we're looking for there is D, 85 scholarships. And like the threat in Division 2 football, this number has dropped a bit over the years since the NCAA started putting limits on institutions in 1977. And that's the sports. Monty and Carey.
Thanks, Greg. When you get your hair cut or someone serves you dinner, you are often expected to leave a tip. Sometimes how much to tip is a tough decision. We'll talk to people who depend on the spare change you leave.
Also, the music industry can be competitive and for new bands often discouraging. Coming up in our Studio One Spotlight, we'll tell you about one band that has decided to take the independent path to success.
Wall Street has come to the prairie through the A. Kirk Lanterman Investment Center at the University of North Dakota. This state-of-the-art facility in the College of Business and Public Administration provides hands-on experience in the world of modern finance. Students learn how financial markets react with lightning quickness to world events. They use cutting-edge technology and real-time data from more than 200 financial markets around the world. The Lanterman Investment Center provides the tools to make a career out of an education.
There are many things to be found at the University of North Dakota School of Law. You will find a place with small class settings, an affordable place that offers student interaction with both the state and federal court systems. You will find a school that has averaged over 90% placement for its graduates the past 5 years. But most importantly, you will find the skills and experience you'll need throughout your legal career. Find your future at the University of North Dakota School of Law.
This can happen.
Excuse me, can I get a ride?
What?
My car broke down. Can I get a ride?
No, I can't help you.
Look, it's just a ride.
No, step back.
Get in the car!
No!
Women can defend themselves. To learn more about Impact U or to enroll in a class, call the UND Women's Center.
Advance your career with a graduate business degree from the University of North Dakota. The graduate school at UND offers a variety of master's degrees that can help you stand out in the competitive business world. Our programs accommodate full-time students as well as working professionals. Our state-of-the-art facilities, dedicated faculty, and entrepreneurial training position graduates for careers as business leaders. Make your move towards a business leadership position. Contact the UND Graduate School today.
You're watching Studio One from the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks.
Please, thank you, excuse me. We often remember these simple forms of etiquette, but what some of us may forget could leave others struggling to make ends meet.
There's quite a bit in there. Michelle has been a server for years. Although she knows the restaurant inside and out, she still doesn't make minimum wage. Many servers like Michelle work for a little over $3 per hour. Working for such a small hourly wage makes tipping an important part of her paycheck.
I guess a lot of people don't realize that we're making less than minimum wage, so they don't realize that, that's where we make our money.
The type of restaurant also makes a difference when deciding how much to tip.
If you're in a very, very good restaurant and the service is good, you tip 20%. You can tip as little as 15%, but in a very good restaurant, you'd always tip 20%.
It can sometimes be hard to decide when and how much to tip.
You wouldn't tip in McDonald's or places like that because you go to the counter and get your food.
It's recommended to tip whenever receiving any extra or unexpected services. Haircuts, valet parking, and manicures are a few services that may be overlooked. A tip is sometimes offered only to show gratitude and is not added on to an hourly wage by an employer.
But we don't expect tip. That's just something that is come from the customer. If they like to give us tip, then that's fine. But if not, we just want to do our job.
Sometimes, tipping can become a useful tool to customers. When a business recognizes someone as a good tipper, they're more likely to go out of their way to accommodate them. Servers will often do whatever it takes to make their guests happy. For people like Michelle, going the extra mile for a few extra dollars is always worth the trouble. Reporting for Studio One, I'm Virginia Sticka.
May Marie Blackmore is the senior editor of the book Pardon Me, Your Manners Are Showing. The book gives many examples of types of etiquette that should be used at various occasions. The number of people sentenced to death in the United States reached a 30-year low last year. 144 inmates in 25 states were put to death. We wanted your thoughts on why the number of people on death row is going down.
There's different options for people that do crime now, and it's not like back in the day, you put someone to, death because of something stupid.
Well, I think the prosecutors they're just too cheap.
I think the reason is that the appeals process for the inmates have gone up, and they've just keep appealing it.
Well, they just don't like it. Points where they just don't like it, and my own opinion, I think it's a little harsh. depending on the crime, of course, and it's got to be pretty bad.
They love to drum, strum, and sing, but they're not doing it for the fame and fortune. In today's Spotlight story, we take a look at a group who is following their dream.
This is how many classic artists start out. These musicians make the independent or indie group named SID. Indie means they are independent from a record label. The band includes lead singer Sid, guitarist Tuck, bassist Dylan, and drummer Sam. They started loving music as kids, and it slowly turned into an obsession that they all share.
One day, I just decided to take all my video games and my Nintendo and cash them in and buy a guitar. And that kind of swallowed my life right there.
Because they're not funded by a label, they must pay for everything themselves. Their albums, merchandise, and travel expenses all come out of their own pockets.
We have to save every dime we make so that we can put it back into the band. This is what we do. My life is focused around music.
Even though money is tight, the members of SID say they like the freedom.
Definitely coming from like an artistic standpoint, it's not really like you're writing the songs to like necessarily sell them. You're just writing them because they're who you are, and it'd be nice if people love it or whatever. And so that's what we're hoping to like keep with the indie side of things, you know, creative expression.
Music labels promote the bands they sponsor, but an indie band must find an inexpensive way to market themselves. SID says the internet is a valuable resource because they can recruit and keep in touch with their fans. Touring the country to small venues like this one at the University of North Dakota in Grand Forks is another way SID is helping to make their dream a success. They spend most of their time eating, sleeping, and traveling in their minivan that they fondly call Sherman.
We tour a lot. We're busy guys. We're very familiar with the hotels and with sleeping in vans and driving long distances and getting to want to kill each other and play music.
Sid and his bandmates are unsure of their future, but they know playing music will definitely play a big part.
I love playing music. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about the love of the game.
And it's that love of the game that will keep this band rockin' with or without a label. With photographer Darren Lean, I'm Kaylee Hamilton for Studio One.
Like many other indie bands, the members of SID work day jobs most of the year to help support their music. Then they take a few months off each year to tour. Fish are common pets. However, picking the right fish and the right home for the fish can be tough. Next, we'll learn more about proper aquarium care.
No matter what your schedule, no matter when you work, no matter what job you have now, this is your opportunity to accomplish your goals. Degrees After Hours at the University of North Dakota can work around your busy schedule. Bachelor and master's degrees are earned through convenient, flexible, and high-quality classes. Complete degrees are available online through correspondence study and on weekends and evenings. Earn a degree on your terms with Degrees After Hours at the University of North Dakota.
The College of Business and Public Administration at the University of North Dakota is proud to announce the Page Family Marketing Center. A gift from alumni Greg and Cindy Page, this center promises real-world experiences as students begin careers in marketing. The center includes a specially designed conference room for focus group research. An adjacent lab offers real-time access to software and data for marketing decisions. The Page Family Marketing Center, your next step in marketing.
The School of Engineering and Mines at UND has a long history of preparing students for successful careers. Through small classes and faculty involvement, students have unique opportunities to gain hands-on experience. Here, students launch a weather balloon to test a remote imaging device destined for Earth orbit. Students can also become involved in wind energy and fuel cell projects, design, build, and race a Formula One car, or even develop a camera that will generate agricultural images from the International Space Station. Find out for yourself how you can get involved at UND School of Engineering and Mines.
The UND College of Business and Public Administration is reaching out to rural America. The Government Rural Outreach Initiative is working to connect North Dakota veterans with important information. North Dakota veterans can use the internet to access employment and business resources, health and benefits they deserve, housing information, and much more. The Government Rural Outreach Initiative is funded in part by the North Dakota Congressional Delegation. North Dakota veterans and their families can get connected by visiting go.ndgrow.com.
Some say having a fish tank can reduce stress and can be good for your health. However, with so many types of fish tanks available, choosing the right tank can be hard. Pet store worker Mark Gerrard is here to tell us more about fish, aquariums, and tank care. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Well, thanks for having me.
You actually own some fish.
Yes, I do.
How many?
Probably in the neighborhood of about 50.
50? So with 50 fish, how many tanks do you need?
Right now I'm sitting at just fish, probably about 5 tanks.
5 tanks. And what's the biggest?
37 gallon.
37 gallon. How much money and time do you think you've put into your fish?
More money than I'd like to think about. Time-wise, per week, not that much.
Not that much. And how did you decide to get into fish?
I remember having a tank when I was a kid, like first, second grade. And then I kind of got out of it again until after I graduated and just started a tank, a little 10 gallon, sort of kept going from there.
Well, it's not your average cat or dog pet. What's fun about having a...
You don't have to take them for walks, but they actually will help to calm you. That if you sit in front of it, if you're kind of in a bad mood, that just watching the fish kind of swim around really does kind of relax you.
Wow. Well, you've got a lot of tanks, from big ones, I'm sure. We'll start with the small and kind of work our way up. Okay. We've got a betta fish in here. How much care is needed for a fish that small?
Not very much at all. That you just want to make sure once you have it set up that you feed them every day or every other day, and once a week to once every 2 weeks, depending on the size of the tank, to do about a 50% water change.
All right. Well, I know a lot of people who get these as gifts, these same type of setup. What should a person do before they actually go out and buy something like this?
First thing you want to look at is how much space you have, how large of a tank you can actually go up to, because the bigger the tank, the easier it is to keep. And also, don't be afraid to ask questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question. There's just deaths.
All right. Well, what are some of the basic types of tanks?
The most basic is going to be like the 10 gallon right here. This is one of the most popular selling size tanks because they can fit onto a dresser or a nightstand. But for size, shape, everything, that they nowadays have something for about everybody. You can get upwards of like a 1,200 gallon tank if you really wanted to have one that big.
Well, I've been to pet stores with lots of fish in them. There's so many. What are the differences and what types are there?
The two main differences are going to be fresh and saltwater. Saltwater being Nemo. Freshwater is going to be a little bit cheaper to keep than freshwater, or than saltwater, sorry. But saltwater is also not as hard to keep as most people think, that it's just a little bit more expensive because, especially around here, we're not really next to an ocean.
So what would you say would be some of the most popular fish?
For saltwater, it would have to be Nemo, little clownfish. And for freshwater, probably bettas and neon tetras and angelfish.
Well, something I think people need to think of before they actually get into buying fish is how much care and time is needed. How much time is needed?
With an average tank, once you have it set up, as long as you have the patience right off the bat and don't try to push the tank too hard, there's really not that much that really goes into it. The most constant would be feeding, because they don't get food from anywhere besides us. And maintenance-wise, depending on the size of the tank, anywhere from every 2 weeks to every maybe 3 months. If it's a really large tank, you would do a 25% water change.
All right. Well, in a tank somewhat similar to this size, how often do you need to clean?
With a tank this size, with a adequate, what we call bioload, which would be the number of fish, would be, good rule of thumb is 1 inch of fish for every gallon of water for a freshwater tank. I would say every 2 to 3 weeks, a 25% water change.
And what's the process of going through to clean?
What you do is you have a siphon hose with a tank this size, just a bucket, and you would simply start a siphon, and it has a larger end. I didn't bring one with me, but you dig down into the gravel, which would be this right here.
Okay.
And the gravel is heavy enough that it actually stays down, but any waste trapped in there, leftover food, fish waste, actually will get sucked out, and then you just replace the water they just took out.
Okay.
And you can use tap water if you want to. Just make sure you use a tap water conditioner.
Okay, and that's what this is?
Yep, that'll actually take the chlorine out of the water. Otherwise, chlorine will kill the fish.
Oh, okay. Well, you've got a lot of stuff over here too. What types of things can you put in your tank?
Anything. As long as it looks good to you, the fish don't really care that much, as long as there's something in the tank.
Is there anything, I mean, I've seen people really personalize their tanks with pictures and stuff. Do you see a lot of that?
Oh yeah, I used to, one of my roommates actually was really into Ace Ventura, and he'd make little cuts into the backing, and he'd have little cutouts of Ace Ventura. He'd slip inside there and kind of, where's Waldo kind of thing.
Well, what can an average tank size, what can the cost range from?
If you're going to set up, say, a 10-gallon tank, could be anywhere between, I'd say, $50 for everything, upwards of $200.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Lots of information here for people who maybe are going to get some fish for Christmas. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
You're watching Studio One from the University of North Dakota. We'll be right back after this.
Tradition runs deep among American Indian people. One of those traditions is helping others. At the University of North Dakota, American Indian Student Services is dedicated to helping students succeed. Our support services include tutoring and financial aid assistance. We have more American Indian programs than any other university in the U.S., making UND a leader in Indian education. Be a part of our tradition. Call 1-800-CALL-UND.
The Graduate School at the University of North Dakota is the premier graduate school of the Northern Great Plains, offering advanced degrees in more than 50 fields of study. Our innovative and flexible programs give full-time students, as well as working professionals, the opportunity to study under the guidance of nationally and internationally recognized faculty. Advance your career with a master's or doctoral degree from the Graduate School at the University of North Dakota.
When you graduate from college, what will you be able to offer an employer?
Well, I love working with people.
I'm a people person.
I consider myself to be highly motivated.
I'm a real self-starter.
Offer an employer something more. At the University of North Dakota Career Services Center, we can help you get the competitive edge you need. Stop in or check us out, UND Career Services, empowering students to realize their dreams.
I can offer you much more than just good people skills.
You're hired. No matter what your schedule, no matter when you work, no matter what job you have now, this is your opportunity to accomplish your goals. Degrees After Hours at the University of North Dakota can work around your busy schedule. Bachelor and master's degrees are earned through convenient, flexible, and high-quality classes. Complete degrees are available online through correspondence study and on weekends and evenings. Earn a degree on your terms with Degrees After Hours at the University of North Dakota.
This can happen.
Excuse me, can I get a ride?
What?
My car broke down. Can I get a ride?
No, I can't help you.
Look, it's just a ride.
No, step back.
Get in the car!
No!
Women can defend themselves. To learn more about Impact U or to enroll in a class, call the UND Women's Center.
Tune in next week on Studio One. It takes a special person to turn ordinary objects into art. We'll spend some time with someone who uses people's possessions to create something beautiful.
We're going to leave you now with pictures of a craft show. From all of us here at Studio One, have a great week.